Hello everyone, Time to Grind here, and today I wanted to talk about Valorant. And I have been extremely interested in Valorant since it first got announced, mainly because I've spent thousands of hours in various FPS games, especially CSGO, and nothing was just currently keeping my interest in the genre. And I didn't want to get too hyped and, just fully overhype myself, so I just was patient, and luckily I got into the closed beta. And I've been able to play for several hours, and I wanted to give you guys my first impressions of the game so far. And full disclaimer, I obviously have not played enough of the game to know it like the back of my hand. I don't know every little detail of the game, but I do feel like I've played enough of it to kind of get a good feel for the game. And in my opinion, just after playing a couple of hours, I honestly think that this is easily going to be the next big FPS game, especially the next big esport FPS game. And overall, the game pretty much feels like 80% CSGO and 20% Overwatch. And at first, I was really worried because Overwatch and CSGO are kind of like completely different opposite, ends of the FPS genre spectrum. But the way this game handles it and manages it, it is honestly fantastic. A ton of the mechanics are obviously just taken pretty much straight from CSGO. I mean, you have the team economy, and you have to worry about the saving weapons and the force spying and all of that. You have these slow peaking fights like you would find in CSGO. You have the multiple bomb sites that you take turns defending and attacking like in CSGO. And then you have the heroes of Overwatch. So every single agent in this game, and that's what they're called, agents, has pretty much 4 different abilities. And the first 2 are normally like equipment that you have to buy in the shop, but they are very unique to each character, so no character shares the same equipment. The next ability is normally like another just kind of normal ability that it's almost like you would find it in Overwatch. A lot of the times they have cooldowns or charges, and then you have an ultimate that you get charges in different ways. So you get a charge when you get a kill, you get a charge when you like plant or defuse a bomb or even die, and then there's also orbs you can find around the map that charge it, and then normally after like 6 or 7 charges, depending on the ultimate, you get to use it. And all of these stay through the rounds just like your weapons. So to give an example, I'm going to go through all of the abilities of my favorite agent so far, which is Raze. And her first equipment is like a boom bot thing, and it kind of walks forward, and if it sees an enemy, it'll kind of like go to them and it'll bounce on walls and stuff like that, and if it sees an enemy, it'll like blow up. And so I was mainly using it if I was like in mid to initiate gunfights because they would maybe be distracted by it or even take a little bit of damage from it, and that was mainly what I used it for. The next equipment she had was pretty much just C4, but what was really cool about it is if you threw it on the ground, you could actually kind of like rocket jump or mine jump like you could with Overwatch and Junkrat, so it kind of was multi-purposed. Her next ability was like a cluster grenade that, did a bunch of damage, and then it, had a bunch of smaller grenades, which was nice because it kind of denied the area a little bit, along with doing a good amount of damage. And then her ultimate, she just pulls out a rocket launcher that seems to insta-kill people at a pretty long range, except, you can't hold it out permanently, and it kind of has some delay on it and stuff like that. And I can't speak to the balance of any of these agents because obviously I have not played this game a lot, but every agent I have played with or against has like extremely fun kits. And I know a lot of people were coming into this game and they were expecting it to be mostly CSGO and having some abilities that were kind of more tame. And I will say that abilities do play a bigger part in this game than I think I or a lot of the community was expecting, but it actually doesn't feel spammy, especially not like Overwatch. And the main reason why is because all of the abilities, they have like charges or cooldowns or your ultimate that, you're pretty much only going to get to use like once every 2-3 rounds, if that, depending on how good you're doing. And so it doesn't really seem overwhelming. And most of the time, they do have a lot of counterplay to them. So as an example, there's this agent that's pretty much just Hanzo in Overwatch, and one of the things he can do is shoot an arrow that reveals enemies. And I discovered that if you just shoot the arrow that gets like put into the ground or walls, it just immediately destroys it. And so, it's kind of obvious if you think about it, but just a lot of the things in this game have a lot of counterplay to them. So it's not just like Overwatch where you spam a bunch of abilities and the enemy spams a bunch of abilities. they're all limited because you either have to buy them in the shop because they're the gadgets, or you have to wait, several rounds for your ultimate to charge, or it's just on a long cooldown. It doesn't really feel spammy, and there's a lot of counterplay to it. And honestly, I really liked almost every single one of the agents that I got to play with or experience or play against. They all feel extremely well designed and well, rounded, and they have really good kits that, kind of do different things and have different roles that they fill. And obviously that's all of the, kind of character aspect, but that's only, like I said, part of the game. The other part of the game is like the core CSGO experience, and that is just as important, if not more important, than all the abilities and stuff like that. So overall, the gunplay plays very similar to CSGO, not surprising. The guns have spray patterns. They do seem a lot more forgiving than in CSGO, but they do kind of have a very similar feel to the spray patterns like in CSGO. Also, on a lot of the guns, you can actually aim down sights, which is very interesting, but I actually kind of like it. I know a lot of people going into that didn't like it, but it kind of serves a specific purpose. Obviously, it takes a little bit longer to do that versus just hip firing, but hip firing isn't bad. It's not like you have to aim down sights. It's still like CSGO, just with the additional aspect of that. And most of the guns fill similar roles to the CSGO. I mean, you have the op, and then you have the operator. Kind of funny that they did that so you can still say op. You have an equivalent to the scout. You have an equivalent to a lot of the, pistols and stuff like that. And overall, just most of the weapons and a lot of the categories are just very similar to the things you would find in CSGO. One thing that was interesting was a lot of the guns, especially the two main assault rifles, actually feel very, very similar to me. And I don't know if that's because I just haven't had enough time to play with them, but it's not as drastic of a difference as an example as like the AK-47 and the M4, at least to me. But I'm sure they'll both have their own niches and stuff like that. But the gunplay itself, it feels very smooth and amazing, and it's pretty much exactly what I was wanting from this game. If you're going in expecting the tactical gunplay that like CSGO has, this is just, it's almost the same, but honestly, to me, it feels a little bit more modernized and polished a little bit. And that's just an opinion, but it's, I feel it. And the other interesting aspect of this game is the map design, and the maps in this game are overall really interesting and honestly a little bit more fun than CSGO. I don't know, in terms of longevity, how interesting they'll be, but face value, they seem really, really awesome, and they, make for some really awesome gunplay, fights. And so one of the ways they do this is in one of the maps, there's like two different teleporters that like shake things up completely. So one of the teleporters, it'll teleport you just from kind of like this midsection to this other midsection, but it's a one way, so you can't go back. And then on top of that, the other teleporter will teleport you from one side of the map to the complete other, but they're both one-sided, so you can't just keep going back and forth, back and forth. It's mainly for rotations. So it's almost like, if you're on one side of the bomb site and you want to go to the other bomb site, you don't have to walk all the way there. At least on this map, you can go through the teleporter. And then on one of the maps, there's like these there's a lot of more verticality to it with these kind of like grappling hook things or ropes. They're just ropes that you climb up or down, and that adds a lot. So the map design feels very, very interesting. And the last main part I want to talk about is this game does so many quality of life changes that, CSGO doesn't have, that I honestly didn't know I wanted until I played with them. So a couple examples. The first one is in the buy phase where everybody's, spending their money to buy the equipment or the guns. Both teams can move throughout the map. However, there are barriers preventing you from getting to a certain area. So, for the attackers, they can only really go, 1/3 of the way through the map, and there's all these barriers, and the defenders maybe can go halfway or 2/3, but, they're very, for purpose put in specific places. And so both teams can kind of just start heading to where they want to go while buying their weapons. You don't have to buy it in a specific small little area in your spawn. And this ends up speeding up the time between rounds a ton, which is really nice because the games in this genre do last a while, so just shaving down time in between, gameplay helps a lot, because it also helps you just get in the action faster. And on top of that, buying weapons for teammates is so much better than CSGO, because in CSGO, you have to ask them what they wanted, and you have to hear them or watch them type, or you just buy them an AK or an M4 or whatever, and then you throw it on the ground and they got to pick it up. But in this, people can just right-click any of the guns and request it, and then any person can just press a button and buy them that gun, and it'll instantly get teleported to them. So you could be halfway across the map because, you can move in the buy phase, and they're like, oh, I forgot to buy crap. And if they don't have money, you can just press a button, get sent to them, and it's really, really clean and intuitive, and it is honestly really, really awesome. And I didn't know I would want something like this until I got to play with it, because I can't imagine going back to CSGO and having to go through the whole process of, it's not the worst, it's just, it's such a nice quality of life change, and that's really all it is. And the minimap in this game looks really, really awesome, but it also gives you a lot more info. So you can see your teammates, where they're looking, what they're seeing, and you can even see if you're not walking, but you're kind of running and making a lot of noise with your footsteps, you can actually see the exact radius of the noise you're making, and how enemies, from how far they can hear you, and that's pretty interesting. The graphics, I know a lot of people have kind of been, downplaying the graphics and not saying they're the great. And I mean, the graphics aren't the most groundbreaking, but the game still has a unique art style. It's very pleasing, and it has a very nice simplicity to it, which is, in these types of games, you're trying to make huge esports with, the most amount of people can play them. Simplicity to that is really nice, because I mean, let's be honest, in every FPS game, most people just crank things down to the lowest they can go because they want an advantage. So this game kind of already does that, but it has a very nice art style. It's very pleasing to look at, and I wouldn't say it's cartoonified, but it has this nice kind of cartoon vibe almost to it. And so kind of going into the payment model, you start off with 5 of those agents that we talked about, and you can quickly unlock one more, and I think there's one more down the road that I still haven't gotten to, but you can actually pick out of all of the ones that you don't own. You can just pick whichever you want, but the game will be free to play, and they're going to be monetizing it through, the agents, and then obviously cosmetics. And so speaking of the cosmetics, there is already a shop in the game. There's weapon skins and stuff like that, and the weapon skins look really, really cool. It does kind of like a Fortnite thing where it changes depending on it's like a limited time thing. It constantly changes what's in the store, which it's not loot boxes, but it's still not the best, but it's better than loot boxes. But the skins in this game look freaking amazing. I mean, some of them can even level up, and they get different cool effects, like they glow in certain parts on the gun when you fire, or you teleport the mag into the gun, or just when you get a headshot, there's a cool effect that the dead body does, and they look really, really, really awesome. And the one thing I will say though is the weapon skins are way overpriced. So there's a bundle of 4 weapon skins that they're the really nice ones. Most of them have that level up effect, but they're $50, that bundle. And I mean, they look really, really nice, but $50 is still an insane amount of money. So I definitely think the prices for those skins need to be lowered. They might just be trying to bank on, making a bunch of money, as this game has all this hype for it. Look nice, just very, very overpriced. In terms of the sound design, it sounds great. In terms of how the game runs extremely smooth. I mean, I would expect it to, considering it is kind of a more simplistic graphics and stuff like that. The UI in the menu and in-game is really, really slick. And overall, the game just feels like a more modern CSGO, but with its own identity and its own feel. And I can already see myself getting addicted to it. And I know I've been comparing this to CSGO and Overwatch a lot, and that's because CSGO is the tactical shooter, and I'm not trying to just shit on CSGO completely, because I mean, CSGO is an incredible game. I've spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in this game, but I think Riot did a really good job at looking at CSGO and thinking, how can we do that better? They didn't just copy things and throw in some Overwatch mechanics and just call it a day. It feels like they really really did sit down for years and just look at what worked and what didn't work in CSGO. And the things that really work in CSGO, they're still in this game. And the things that could be improved on or worked on in CSGO, they are in this game. And so that's what I kind of mean by it's more of like a modern CSGO. You know, I'm not dissing CSGO in any way. It has a great spot in my heart, and I could still see myself going to it sometimes. But Valorant is just, I mean, it's a whole nother ball, you know, it's up there. And so, like I said, this is just my first impressions of the game. You know, this is just for me playing a ton in one day and just getting a good feel for the game. But I'm sure things will change down the road. You know, we are in a closed beta, so, you know, a lot can happen from now to launch, even though I do think they're, you know, expecting it to be sooner. But if you have played the game, I know there's a lot of, you know, controversy with getting the beta keys and stuff like that. You know, I was lucky enough to just happen to get in right before I got off work, so that kind of worked out for me. But I really hope all of you guys that are wanting, you know, get beta access, you get it in the next couple of days, if not sooner. But if you have played this game or watched people play it from all the streams and everything like that, let me know in the comments down below your guys' opinion. I love talking with you guys. And if you enjoyed this video, then consider leaving a like down below and subscribing to see more content. New videos come out about twice a week. And if you guys are having a great day today, I hope you continue having a great day. If you guys aren't having a great day, I hope you guys start having a great day. But either way, guys, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. See you guys next time.